We're live in Banjul, broadcasting for viewers in the Gambia and around the world. This is GRTS News at 2200 hours with me by Ibrahim Cham. And in our top stories this evening, the second technical assessment mission on security sector reforms calls on the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Gambia Armed Forces, His Excellency President Adama Barrow. Marking a landmark moment, President Barrow joins the community of Jambanjeli, Kombo South for the historic opening of a multi-million-dollar mosque complex. The Food Safety and Quality Authority warns fish smokers and distributors against the use of the banned sniper insecticide on smoked fish, as FSQA probes confirm use of sniper insecticides by fish dealers. And convergence to boost cohesion. The Nigerian community in the Gambia moves to strengthen unity amongst the fraternity in a major reunion congregation led by the top priest Archbishop Sam Zuka. In sports, the Gambia's Ibrahim Kamara fails to qualify for the heat semi-finals in the ongoing World Athletics Championship. Away from home, Ukraine's nuclear agency says Russia is using a captured nuclear power plant to store weapons and attack targets. And the United Nations Environmental Programme associates air pollution to over 600,000 deaths annually in Africa, with carbon monoxide listed as the most common toxin. Details of these and other stories coming ahead in the next 40 minutes. I'm by Ibrahim Cham. Many thanks for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in details. The President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, joined the community of Jambanjeli in Kombo South Friday for the historic opening of a multi-million-dollar mosque complex. The occasion attracted hundreds of worshippers, including prominent members of the Islamic community in the Gambia and high other ranking government officials. Mohamed Jallo reports on this latest development, marking a great milestone for the people of Jambanjeli.
The community of Jambanjeli Friday inaugurated this new mosque. It took nearly a year to complete. President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, was the chief guest of honor for this historic event, seen as a milestone for this village. He was received by the elders of the community as he entered the mosque complex. Prior to his arrival, the mosque and its compound was filled with hundreds of worshippers, including the leaders of the Islamic community in the Gambia and other high-ranking government officials. The President of the Gambia Supreme Islamic Council, Al-Hadi Said S.R. Dabo, led the prayers, delivering a sermon in which he harped on the importance of the event and its significance for the people of Jambanjeli. The Imam urged the community to be united and steadfast in their commitment to the religion of Islam and its teachings. He commended the President for gracing the occasion, describing it as a symbol of religious dedication and commitment to the welfare of the people. He then led the congregation in a 2-rakah prayer, marking the official opening of the mosque.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim.
Speaking after the prayers, the elders of the village took turns to equally commend the President for responding to their invitation, which they believe will forever be remembered in the history of the village. The village elders also used the occasion to preach peace, unity, and tolerance, calling the opening a victory for the Islamic religion. The President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, also thanked the community for extending an invitation to grace what he called a historic milestone for the people of Jambanjeli.
Invite cannot blood to come in Buku Jama Yellow from Cuba.
President Barrow also praised the spirit of unity shown by the community. He said should serve as an example for others. The President and delegation were seen off by the elders after what has been a historic moment that marks a new era for a community that deeply cherishes its religious traditions and scholarship. GRTs.
technical assessment mission on the security sector reforms called on the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Gambia Armed Forces, His Excellency President Adama Barrow, on Friday. The mission comprises officials from the United Nations, African Union, and ECOWAS. After closed-door talks with the President, the National Security Sector Advisor, Mahmoud Baji, spoke to GRTS on the status of reforms and how it will enhance democracy in the Gambia.
We to report that they have comprehensively and vigorously interacted with all the actors and the stakeholders. So our mission here today is to meet His Excellency President Adama Barrow, where the apex decision making on national security lies. I believe we are happy that His Excellency has expressed his commitment and the will to support the progress of the security sector reform and to ensure that the institutions are professionalized to give us a very secure and stable country. But however, in the practice of or process of moving, we should all be aware to adhere to issues of rule of law, democratic pillars, and other issues. The president has given his word, and then the team will go and finally there will be a report. So we all hope for the best. We hope, with the report, we will see a continuation on the progress of the security sector reform.
The Food Safety and Quality Authority, FSQA, has delivered a strong warning to fish smokers, fish distributors, and dealers against the use of the banned sniper insecticide on smoked fish. The FSQA warning comes after the agency confirmed the use of the sniper insecticide on smoked fish by dealers in the fisheries market. On Thursday, the Food Safety and Quality Authority convened a press briefing to reveal the outcomes of their probes onto the use of pesticides by fish smokers and distributors. Let's take a listen.
June 2022, there was a public outcry on the purported use of pesticides, in particular sniper, on smoked fish by fish processors and vendors. Such reports prompted an immediate stakeholder engagement and subsequent verification process to investigate the use and presence of insecticides in fish products. The public was sensitized on the potential risks associated with the use of pesticides in food products. Fact-finding teams were established which comprised officials of food Safety and Quality Authority, National Environment Agency, Directorate of Public Health under the Ministry of Health, Department of Fisheries, and pesticide experts. The teams visited fish land sites and markets to administer questionnaires that were developed and collect fish samples for laboratory analysis. During these engagements with the fish vendors and processors, none of the respondents attested to the use of sniper at the time. However, empty sniper containers were seen in one of the sites. A total of 57 fish samples were collected from 7 fish landing sites and 9 markets within the Greater Banjul area. From the main sample, which is the 57, 11 fish samples were randomly selected as subsample for analysis at Ceres Lacostock's laboratory in Dakar, Senegal, to determine the presence of pesticides. The results of the analysis indicated the presence of sniper, which is the active ingredient, dichlorvus, and further insecticide products, namely permethrin, ivermectin, cypermethrin, and bifenthrin. The results indicated high residual concentration of dichlorvus, which is sniper, in the samples collected from Bakote Fish Market, with a concentration level of 9.18 milligrams per kilogram. The presence of other insecticides, namely permethrin, ivermectin, cypermethrin, and bifenthrin, were also found. The sniper product found in the Gambia contains a highly toxic organophosphate compound, which is very toxic to human health and the environment.
Moving on, the new Information Minister Lamin Queen Jame has vowed to tackle challenges raised by media houses with relevant authorities as his first familiarization tour of institutions under his watch climaxed on Friday. During the nationwide tour, Minister Jame urged all community and private radio stations to link up with GRTS radio during prime-time news to enhance access to information. Ibrahim Diallo reports.
The Information Minister and delegation visited 4 media houses and the Gambia Printing and Publishing Corporation on Friday, ending an intensive familiarization tour for the new Minister and Permanent Secretary. Pap Sen, co-founder, and Baba Hydra, co-publisher of Point newspaper, lament challenges in the payment of monies owed to the paper for services rendered to government institutions. They also lament high taxes and to allocate the company to minimize operational cost. From the Point to the Voice newspaper, where the managing editor Musa Sirif and staff had a meeting with the minister. The Voice, according to the manager, went through a lot of challenges in the ensuing years. Like other print media, the Voice also struggled for timely payment of bills from customers, mostly government. At Choice FM, the management called on government to support in the form of subvention, saying the market is small and saturated due to growing number of commercial radios in the urban area. The delegation also visited the workers' newspaper under the Gambia Trade Union, meant to publicize the activities of workers. Minister Jammeh and team had a frank meeting with the management of GPPC, which is mandated to produce teaching and learning materials and to print revenue materials for government. However, according to the managing director Mohamed Sise, some state institutions are not compliant to print with the GPPC. The minister and team took note of all concerns raised and promised to take them up with the relevant ministries for solutions. Ibrahim Diallo, GRTS.
Now, a major effort to revitalize and boost the country's energy sector has driven the government to sign a special $25 million grant with the U.S. government. Penned by the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy on behalf of the Gambia government, on Friday, the grant signing for the energy sector comes through the Millennium Challenge Corporation for the Gambia on behalf of the United States government. The grant agreement is set to focus on governance and operations of the energy sector to curtail outage frequencies towards universal energy accessibility. Details in this report. The signing ceremony marks the formal entry of a $25 million grant agreement between the Gambia government and the United States, presided over by the Petroleum and Energy Minister Abdoulaye Jobe and the U.S. Ambassador to the Gambia, Sharon Comer. The Millennium Challenge Corporation Threshold Program is a 4-year program focused on improving governance in the energy sector to tackle legal issues and policies, and also run parallel schemes to improve the operations of the National Water and Electricity Company.
This grant will also support the Gambia's efforts to achieve universal energy access by 2025, renewable energy sources including solar, and help the country meet its nationally determined contributions to curb greenhouse gases. This MCC threshold program is a foundation for sustainable economic growth at a critical moment in the Gambia's history.
Petroleum Minister Abdoulaye Job said the Gambia's energy sector is going through a major transition with support from partners investing heavily to turn around the energy sector for improved physical gain and operational performance. Minister Job outlined existing moves, repositioning the country on the path towards clean renewable energy transitions by exploiting our green energy potentials.
The threshold program is expected to consolidate the advances made in the energy sector by supporting the implementation of critical institutional and policy reforms to improve power sector governance and operations of Mali. The successful implementation of the program will assist the Gambia to become eligible for the Millennium Challenge Compact, which is the ultimate objective of the government of the Gambia, to be able to access necessary capital to finance critical investments in the power sector and, among others, to reduce poverty and stimulate economic growth.
Both parties finally put pen to paper, marking the start of a new era in the Gambia's budding energy sector. Funds now head to the Finance Ministry, which is working to expand development financing for critical sectors driving growth.
This $25 million grant will go towards addressing critical needs of our energy sector, which is a cross-cutting developmental challenge for the country. And we are sure at the end of the implementation phase, the universal access to energy and electricity in this country will be met.
As the world grapples with the effects of climate change, particularly sub-Saharan Africa, the Millennium Challenge Corporation is refocusing on integrating renewables such as hydro and solar power at the forefront of efforts to invigorate the Gambia's energy sector via programs anchored on national determined contributions. Reporting for GRTS News, I'm by Ibrahim Chan. And now to this press release. The Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure says it has noticed that some drivers are unilaterally increasing transport fares for various destinations across the country. Drivers are reminded that this practice is unacceptable. Equally, the public is reminded that the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure has started negotiations with relevant transport union officials for an amicable solution. Until then, transport fares for all destinations across the country remain the same. The cooperation of the general public, especially commercial drivers, is highly solicited. Now moving on, the Nigerian community in the Gambia on Friday converged for the inauguration of the new executive that will run the affairs of the community for the next 3 years. The ceremony was also witnessed the awards of members and other dignitaries for outstanding performance and sacrifices strengthening unity amongst the fraternity. Details with Babasilla.
A massive reunion gathering convening the Nigerian community in the Gambia has top clergy Archbishop Professor Sam Zuga visit the Gambia for the first time. The ceremony could not have happened without peace and unity among members of the Nigerian community in the Gambia, which is forging strong bonds of unity amongst people from different faiths and backgrounds. Messages of peace and unity dominated the day's discourse, with notable speakers using the colorful ceremony to call for stronger cohesion and unity. The president of the association commended the Gambia government for creating an enabling environment and challenged members to be united and to cherish peace among themselves.
This past government, we have done a lot to make sure that there is peace and stability to Nigerians in the Gambia. I don't need to tell you much about that. With what you are seeing here today, you can attest that there is peace, there is unity, there is oneness among Nigerians.
The guest speaker, Archbishop Professor Sam Zuga, delivered a powerful motivational speech, urging members to be time conscious in an era of digital transformation leading evolution.
The world
24 hours allocated to every individual. Everybody on earth have only 24 hours at his disposal. The riches and the poverty of any human being is obtainable within the 24 hours. The level you use your 24 hours determine how high you can be. As a small boy in your midst, I want to tell Nigerians and Africans, we have decided to have our own time in the planet called African time. That has become one of the weakest points in the life of a black man. We are becoming poorer and poorer per day. We are so backward simply because we don't know the time that is given to us. Europe and America was created the same day with us. Why are they ahead of us? The reason is we don't understand time.
Mr. Benjamin Felix, Deputy for the Nigerian High Commissioner.
We know that we can only make meaningful, we can only get meaningful achievements or development when we strive for peace. A divided house cannot stand, and in that case, whatever we are doing, we have to look for ways to make sure that there is peace. The community as it is today, we appreciate the way the turnout and the effort that the past administration put in to make sure that everything stabilized. And we encourage those that were sworn in today to learn and take a clue from that so that we can make headway.
Certificates of recognition were also awarded to outstanding members for their sacrifice and contribution towards the success of the fraternity, moving to strengthen relations between Nigerians in the Gambia and abroad. Baba Sila, Grts.
We take our first break now. Sports news is up next Tuesday. The World Athletics Championship started on Friday, July 16th, with nearly 2,000 athletes from 200 countries competing in Oregon, USA. As the United States hosts the championships for the first time in its history, the U.S. topped the medals table 3 years ago in Doha 2019 and did so again on Friday with a scoop on most races in the heats, where Gambian sprinter Ibrahim Kamara failed to qualify for the 100-meter semi-final after winning preliminary rounds. Kamara finished 6th behind Trayvon Bromell and Ivory Coast Arthur Cisse and Jerome Blake of the United States. The Gambian expressed disappointment in the outcome and apologized to fans for the early exit. An excerpt.
In the morning, it was not easy. We arrived here yesterday night and we competed in the morning, and then this afternoon also I supposed to come. So it was not best for me. Like the expectation was high. Within myself, the expectation was high, and I was feeling that things does not go well. So let's see another step what is going to happen. Most of them we are expecting yes, we will see a different national record, or we will see a camera in another state, which did not happen. So that's why I'm telling them a big sorry, and then we work forward for the upcoming competition.
Another quick break. The international news is up next. Welcome back. Ukraine's nuclear agency says Russia is using a captured nuclear power plant to store weapons and attack targets. The agency's president says hundreds of Russian troops control the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in southeastern Ukraine, which Russia took in the invasion's early weeks. The Ukraine accuses Russia of using the plant as a base to shell the surrounding region. One of the alleged targets is the city of Dnipro. The Ukrainian government published this video on its Telegram channel, which it says shows a Russian strike on the city. The regional governor says 3 people were killed by Russian missiles. It is one of the latest in a series of attacks on urban areas that have killed dozens of people in recent days.
Kings of of smoke rise into the sky above Ukraine's southern city of Mykolaiv. It's been the target of Russian missile strikes in recent days, causing powerful explosions. On the ground, cars completely burnt out and covered in debris. Rescue teams continue to put out the flames and search through the rubble looking for any signs of life. This area is home to two of the city's biggest universities. The buildings took a direct hit, much of it destroyed and beyond repair. In the central town of Vinnytsia, hundreds of kilometers to the west and far from the front lines, residents are reeling from a Russian attack on Thursday. Many people were killed and injured.
According to updates, we understand that there were 3 rockets that hit here. Previously, experts found fragments of rocket engines. 2 missiles were shot down in the Vinnytsia region by our air defense forces.
Ukrainian authorities say the strike was carried out with Russia's high-precision caliber missile, accusing Moscow of deliberately targeting civilians, a claim Russia denies. Emergency teams combed through the rubble looking for missing loved ones. The targets here, a medical center, a concert hall, and a park where mothers would take their children. 4-year-old Lisa, who has Down syndrome, was one of the victims who lost her life. Doctors fear that her mother, who's in hospital in critical condition, won't make it if they tell her the news.
If we tell Lisa's mother now that her daughter has died, there will be no chance of her being released from hospital.
As the death toll rises and many try to come to terms with their loss in Ukraine, people are bracing for further attacks in the coming days.
Now, the United Nations Environmental Programme says over 600,000 deaths that occur in Africa annually are associated with air pollution. Carbon monoxide is one of the most common and widely distributed air pollutants. CTN's Daniel Arab-Moy reports.
Monoxide is an odorless, colorless gas that can kill. The gas is found in fumes produced when fuel burns in cars, stoves, lanterns, grills, or fireplaces. The World Health Organization estimates that air pollution is responsible for 7 million deaths every year globally. When carbon monoxide builds up indoors, it can poison people and animals who breathe it. Carbon monoxide poisoning presents many symptoms and can lead to death if not treated. Infants, the elderly, people with chronic heart disease, anemia, or breathing problems are more likely to get sick from exposure to carbon monoxide. Daniel Arab-Moy, CGTN, Nairobi.
Now, there are nearly 258 million widows in the world. Half of them are in Africa, according to the United Nations. Subsequently, nearly 1 out of 10 widows live in extreme poverty. For many women around the world, loss of a partner is magnified by long-term fights for basic rights and dignity.
United Nations, there are more than 258 million widows around the world, and half of them are here on the African continent. 36-year-old Marcelo Chilwane is one of them. She lost her husband 7 years ago, a memory that still pains her. At the time of her husband's death, Chilwane was 3 months pregnant.
And then already I started thinking about
My husband was gunned down under mysterious circumstances. I still don't really know who killed him. When he died, the lights just went off. By that I mean, we had nothing. I was pregnant and had an older child from an earlier relationship. My husband was the breadwinner, and I was looking after our home. His death just brought total darkness.
According to the United Nations, widows have historically been left unseen and unsupported in societies. Worse still, they are often treated unfairly by their husbands' families. Chilwane experienced the same. She tells us that she felt alone with no support from those around her. The husband's family simply shunned her.
Next,
The strangest thing for me was that they were not even interested in knowing this child. After I gave birth, I took the child to them so that he can know his paternal side. They simply rejected us. It was like, their son is gone, so that's it.
After experiencing such hardship, Chilwani says she decided to get up and make means for her children. She started doing menial jobs to make ends meet.
I literally took up small jobs. I would put my small baby on back and just try to get on with life. I told myself that, if not for me, I must just do this for my kids. Otherwise, who's going to feed them?
7 years after her husband's death, Chilwani says she's happy to have a steady job and a home for her and her children, and is looking forward to providing them with the education that she says her husband wanted to give them. Yudisa Jamala for CTTN in Pretoria, South Africa.
Now, local agribusinesses in Uganda have begun producing healthy and nutritious edible oil out of avocados. Now, this is aimed at plugging the shortage caused by the conflict in Ukraine. The African nation produces a third of 120,000 metric tons of oil needed annually in the country.
Godfrey Chiweru's agribusiness is fleshing out avocados to produce edible oil. He buys from smallholder farmers across the country. The avocado flesh is sun-dried and oil pressed out using a locally made machine. Chiweru's oil is still undergoing certification, and some is used for cosmetics.
In such times like this, if we can utilize the abundance, the abundant avocados that are around, we can be able to cushion some of these impacts, to reduce the imports, but then also to reduce the shortage that arises in such crises.
Chiweru's Lavado oil pitch attracted the attention of the World Food Programme. The WFP is pushing for the redesigning of food systems in Uganda to reduce shortages caused by global crises like drought or the Ukraine conflict. Chiweru won a $50,000 grant from the UN to expand his business.
Given the style of production we are using, because we are using basically rudiment methods, we can only produce like 100 liters a month. But now with this grant, we're gonna push it to 1,000 liters.
Uganda imports 70% of edible oil, but with the disruptions in the supply chain, prices have shot up. Uganda imports most of its palm oil from Malaysia, but due to high demand for palm oil on the international market, the Southeast Asian country has restricted exports to prioritize local use.
Many small-scale businesses that depend on cooking oil to make snacks, like these roadside vendors, have been forced to increase prices in order to break even. Some are reducing the sizes of their snacks in order to sell more, but sales still remain low.
The WFP says there's a huge potential in tech entrepreneurship that can strengthen food systems to disrupt hunger and improve food security.
We've seen that there are extraordinary entrepreneurs out there who have great ideas to help make the food system here in Uganda more robust. The more we can do to support smallholder farmers in particular to be not only self-reliant, but to grow and be sustainable producers of food, not just for their households, but for their communities, and beyond that into the wider country. That will help make Uganda's food systems as a whole more reliable.
Chiweru and his team are hoping to begin full production when his new machinery arrives. The Lavado edible oil is expected to hit the local market in 3 months. Isabel Nakiria, CGTN Kampala.
Well, that story draws the curtain for GRTS News, but a quick recap of our top stories before we let go. The second technical assessment mission on security sector reforms called on the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Gambia Armed Forces, His Excellency President Mubarak, on Friday. Marking a landmark moment, President Barrow joined the community of Jambandeli, Kombo South for the historic opening of a multi-million-dollar mosque complex. The Food Safety and Quality Authority has warned fish smokers and distributors against the use of banned sniper insecticide on smoked fish, and FSQA probes confirmed the use of sniper insecticide by fish dealers. In sports, Gambian sprinter Ibrahim Kamara failed to qualify for the heat semi-final at the ongoing World Athletics Championship in Oregon, USA. Away from home, Ukraine's nuclear agency said Russia is using a captured nuclear power plant to store weapons and attack targets. And the United Nations Environmental Programme has associated air pollution to over 600,000 deaths annually in Africa, with carbon monoxide listed as the most common toxin. Well, that does it for this edition of... Thanks for watching. Please enjoy the rest of our programs. Have a great evening.